Hello and welcome back to the Guitar in a Year, Beginner to Intermediate. We are on week number 39. Today is going to be a practice week. I'm going to be giving you a bunch of strategies to prepare you for the performance exam next week on week 40. I'm going to be asking you questions to find major scale patterns. For example, if I asked you, I need D as in dog major, pattern number 5. We would have to think of the fifth note in the D major scale, D, E, F sharp, G, and A. And then I play pattern 5 starting on A on the low E string. By doing that, I get all of the notes of D major just starting on A. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. So we're going to be running through all of these types of practicing strategies. So first of all, I'm doing a little bit of a different setup today. There's going to be a lot less editing on this video, so apologies for that. This is the diatonic harmony sheet, and I'm going to full screen this. This is going to be available over on Patreon, so if you are not a patron, go over there and you can sign up to get access to the extra practicing content. Also on Patreon, I've been running through all of the major keys in the exact way that I want you to practice. If you're someone that only views this course on YouTube and you don't have any idea how to practice this stuff, you are missing out. Come on over to Patreon. It's just $5 a month. Just buy me a coffee a month and you can get access to all the practicing videos, the tutorials, and all the PDFs and that type of stuff. And while we're at it, if you haven't subscribed by week 39, please do. If you're watching this every week, I'd love to have you on board on my channel. Okay, so taking a look at this document here, this is pretty much everything you need to know this year for the Beginner to Intermediate course. So I have all of my major scales. So that's starting on the left-hand corner. That's going to be that particular scale. So C major at the top left-hand corner, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And you'll notice that the distances between the notes, we've been talking about this for like 20 weeks, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So we notice that from a C major scale, we have C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, and then B back to C would be a half step. Every scale works this way. So even if I'm doing something a little bit funky like D flat major, I would get D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat. So I am going through this one at a time, thinking of those whole and half steps, right? And then I would have my C and D flat to finish off the scale. Okay? And so memorizing your scales is super important. What I would like for everyone to be able to do by the end of probably this month would be to be able to recite all of your major scales cycle 4 by memory. So we've been talking about major scales for quite a while. If your practicing has not included this for a while, it's time to get this back into your practice, okay? Taking a look at the diagram here, we're going to be able to see the exact same formula worked out in every single scale. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B. We know that one. When we move to F major, the fourth note, remember we're doing cycle 4. The fourth note is the new note, so F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. When we move to B flat, it's B flat, C, D, E flat. The fourth note is the new note. Moving to E flat major, we have E flat, F, G, A flat is the new note, B flat, C, D. And so it's still containing what the previous scale contained. It's only adding the new note. A flat major, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, fourth note being D flat. Moving to D flat major, D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C. F sharp major, now we're going the other way. It's almost like we walked to the top of the mountain and now we're reducing the amount of accidentals. So F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, we're reducing the accidentals. So it was a B flat, now it's a B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp. Go to E major, E, F sharp, G sharp, A is the new note, B, C sharp, D sharp. We go to A, B, C sharp, D is the new note, E, F sharp, G sharp. Then we go to D major, D, E, F sharp, G is the new note, A, B, C sharp. And then finally G, A, B, C is the new note, D, E, F sharp. Okay? So what we're trying to do is get you to a point where you can recite any major scale instantaneously. I have to be able to say, hey John, I need you to play a B major scale. That's one thing, but I also need you to be able to say it out loud. I need you to be able to say B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. Be able to say those things super quickly. This is an essential part of being even a beginner. If you're learning piano, you know all this stuff if you know your key signatures. It's one of the things that guitar players don't often know. And so I find people who've been playing for 20 years that don't know their major scales. Your major scales are going to include all of your modes. So if you're like, well, I just want to play rock music, why do I need to know major scales? All of your minor scales are inside your major scales. In fact, I need to know all of my major scales to get harmonic minor, melodic minor. If I wanted C melodic minor, for example, all I have to do is flat the third note. C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, C. And that C melodic minor scale is going to give me things like the altered scale, the Lydian dominant scale, Lydian augmented. So it's definitely worth your time, okay? And so have this handy as we're working on stuff. It's going to tell us which note a pattern starts on. And sometimes students struggle with this. It's a lot easier than you think. The third pattern of any key, so for example, you see this third column here, I'm kind of trying to run it down. Those are all your pattern 3s. Where do I start pattern 3 on C major? E. Where do I start pattern 3 on F major? A. Where do I start pattern 3 on B flat major? D. Where do I start pattern 5 on E flat major? B flat. Where do I start pattern 3 on A flat major? C. Where do I start pattern 6 on D flat major? B flat. So you have to know the scale to be able to figure out where the pattern starts. It's kind of like all these things are coming together at this point. We have not only our note recognition and note knowledge on the neck, you're going to need to know all of your notes, cycle 4 on the low E string. If I need to play the third pattern of C and I know that it's E, I have to be able to find an E note on my guitar. And then I also have to have that pattern memorized and under my fingers, okay? So we'll start off easy today with pattern 1, and I'm going to show you how to move that around, okay? So pattern 1, C major, we're putting our first finger on the note C, and of course, just like we've been doing for the last 10 weeks, we play that to the top, okay? Then I move it to F major, so it starts on F. What if something like A major? So I just find A and put pattern 1 down there. So this is pretty simple for the first pattern of our major scale, but what about the second pattern? Well, when I play the second pattern of C major, you'll notice that my C note, the root of my scale, is on the D string with my first finger. That means that I have to do two things to kind of figure this out. If I want pattern 2 of F major, I find an F note, go to the second note in that key, which is G, and then I will find my root on the D string with my first finger. For this test, I'll simply be asking you to start on the root of the pattern, so start an F major scale on G. I'll play pattern 2 right there. Okay. All right, let's do a couple more. I need pattern 2 of B flat major. I find a B flat, go up a whole step, that's the second note of B flat major, and I simply play pattern 2. Okay. What about E flat major, pattern 2? Well, the second note of an E flat major scale is F. I find an F, and I play pattern 2. What about pattern 2 of D flat major? I find a D flat, go up a whole step, that's the note E flat, and I play pattern 2. It's really that simple, guys. Okay? Let's move on to pattern 3. Pattern 3 is C major. I just play to the third note, C, D, E. That's where pattern 3 starts. And then I play pattern 3. What if I wanted pattern 3 of F sharp major? Start on F sharp, find the third note, that's where my first finger goes, and now I play pattern 3. Now I'm playing an F sharp major scale. What about pattern 3 of E major? Well, find an E, F sharp, G sharp, that's the third note of an E major scale. Put my first finger on G sharp, play pattern 3. What about the third pattern of B as in boy major? I find B, play to its third note, put my first finger on the third note, and play pattern 3. All right, let's move on to pattern 4. So pattern 4 is a little bit different. Find your first pattern here on 1, so if I'm playing fourth pattern of C major, go up to the next string. What note is that? That's F. We find that note on the low E string, and then play pattern 4. You'll know you're playing the correct pattern 4 because 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, I'll get to C. If I'm playing the key of D, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, it'll end up there. I'll just end up counting. So let's do a few of these. I want pattern 4 of the key of E. So I play an E note, go up a fourth, which is the next string, that's A. Find A on the low E string, play pattern 4. Let's do another one. I need pattern 4 of F sharp. Find an F sharp, I'm going to go up a string, that's the fourth, that's B. Find a B on the low E string, play pattern 4. Next, let's try A flat. Here's an A flat. Go up a string, that's D flat. Find D flat on the low E string. Play the pattern of 4. Let's do one more. Let's do E flat. I'm finding an E flat on the low E string. I go up a perfect fourth to A flat. Find A flat on the low E. Play pattern 4. Moving on to pattern 5s. Remember our power chords. Okay, so a power chord is usually notated as F5, A flat 5, C5, E5, right? That's because it's that note plus its fifth. So if I need the fifth pattern of F, play an F power chord, your ring finger is on where you would start. That's C, but I have to find it on the low E string. So I find C on the low E string, and I play pattern 5. Okay, how about pattern 5 of A flat major? Play a power chord on A flat. What's my ring finger on? It's an E flat. Find an E flat on the low E string, and I play pattern 5. What about pattern 5 of D flat major? Play a power chord on D flat. That's D flat on its fifth, which is A flat. Find an A flat on the low E string. Play pattern 5. Let's do one more. I need pattern 5 of B major. B as in boy. Play a power chord on B. My ring finger's on the note F sharp. Find an F sharp on the second fret here in the low E string. Play pattern 5. As we start getting closer to the higher numbers of the scale degrees, it gets a little bit easier. Pattern 6 of C major is very simple. I put my pinky on C, my first finger's on pattern 6. So that's 1, 7, 6, or 6, 7, 1. Okay? And then I'd play it from there. So if I wanted pattern 6 of E major, put your pinky on E, your first finger's on C sharp, play pattern 6. I want pattern 6 of A major. Pinky goes on A, my first finger ends up on F sharp, play pattern 6. I want pattern 6 of B as in boy major. Pinky goes on B, first finger's on G sharp, I play pattern 6. Let's do a couple more. I want C sharp major, pattern 6. Pinky goes on C sharp, first finger's on A sharp, play pattern 6. Let's do one more. I want F major, pattern 6. Well, I don't have anything behind the nut, so I have to go up to the octave, pinky on F, first finger's on D, and I play pattern 6. Next, I'm going to go to pattern 7. Don't count up, go back 1 fret. Pattern 7 of C major is 1 fret back. Play pattern 7. It's that simple. I want pattern 7 of G major. Find G major with my first or my middle finger. First finger's on F sharp. Play pattern 7. I want pattern 7 of E major. I find E with my middle finger. First finger's on D sharp. Play pattern 7. Okay? So this is a very easy way to kind of find these notes. Eventually, we're going to be looking, hopefully, at the guitar as one huge pattern. You're not really thinking about it as individual patterns. If I'm looking at something weird, like let's say the key of D flat major, my lowest available pattern is pattern 3 right here. That means pattern 4 starts here, and pattern 5 is right there. Pattern 6 is right there. You know, pattern 7 is right there. Pattern 1, pattern 2. Okay, so finding patterns, you're going to be working on what is connected to that pattern, you know, to the left or to the right. So the next part of the exam is going to be on the triads. So I told you guys we're going to be doing the triads on the exam on week 40, so hopefully you've been practicing this all along. So we're going to be starting off with just the name of the chord and its inversion, and then the string set. So for example, I would say I need D major, and I need it in second inversion, and I need it on strings 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So I have a D major chord, it's in second inversion, which means the fifth is in the bass, that A note, and it's on strings 1, 2, and 3. If I asked you the exact same question, but said I need it on strings 2, 3, and 4, I would get it there. So it's the exact same sound, just on a different string set. So let's do a couple more of these. Let's say I wanted a D as in dog minor in root position on strings 1, 2, 3. I would find it here. D, F, and A. D is the lowest note. If I wanted that on string set 2, 3, and 4, it'd be down here. What if I wanted a D as in dog flat major in first inversion? I would play it here. I could also play it here. So that's actually the top part of this bar chord. So it'll be important for us to work on this every single day. Now, for those of you who have possibly not been working on this, it is going to be quite a challenge. So this is what this maintenance type of practice is really important for. For those of you who have been working on triads even 5 minutes a day since I introduced them in the late spring, this will be super easy for you. For people that only work on what I give them each week, then you're gonna have a problem, right? Because we need to be working on everything, and this is why being a complete guitar player does take quite a bit of work, because you are, constantly training things that you've already learned to make them faster. It's just part of being a guitarist. You do the same thing if you were an athlete. I've mentioned it before. You don't get to the pros and then all of a sudden stop working out, right? You keep on working out. We could also do these diatonically in a key. So if I wanted the key of D major on the top 3 strings, D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, and C sharp diminished. I will be asking you to play one full key on the test. Now, I could also put it in root position. Again, I'm just playing the same chords. D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp diminished, back to D. I'm just using root position. Now, what if I was going to do that with the first inversion? So I'd start D here, D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp diminished, back to D. We have to be able to find these things. For example, if you were wanting to learn Dream On by Aerosmith, right? That song is all triads on strings 1, 2, 3. Okay? So I often find that students, like when I'm introducing a concept or talking about a concept, they're like, why do I need to do that? Why do I need to practice my triads? Well, do you want Dream On to take you 3 hours, or do you want it to take you 15 minutes? That's the thing. Back to the whole reason why pros learn songs so fast. That's literally an F minor triad in second inversion, going to a C minor triad in root position, okay? So that's why it's important to work on this stuff, so that when you go to a song, you're not putting your time and effort into learning brand new things for every single song, because then not only do you extend the time it takes to learn the song, but you're introducing frustration with that song. We've all learned a song that was so challenging, by the time we learn the whole thing, we don't ever want to play it again, or it's just something we don't want to play because it's just frustrating. I hate that song now, right? So I like to put my frustrations, if there are any, I don't really get frustrated. I try not to get frustrated when I practice. I put all my frustrations into the applied theory portion of my playing, so that when I play actual music, I can relax and I can enjoy myself. And so that's kind of why we need to do this stuff, okay? So that's a good example of why the triads can be necessary. And also doing this 4 strings 2 through 4, right? So what if I was going to do those first 2 sections? What if my high E string broke on a gig and I still had to play Dream On? Well, all I have to do is take this F minor triad in first inversion, so I have to find it with the 5th in the bass, that'd be here, and then I have to find a C minor triad in root position. So let's say my high E string popped at a gig. See, I can still play it on another string set because I know where things are on the guitar. These 2 things are what's going to be on the proficiency exam for next week. You're going to get a bunch of questions where I will say, I need A major from the 6th scale degree. We'll play it. I need E major from the 5th scale degree. And you'll play it. And then I'll ask you triadic questions, such as I need a B flat diminished in, I don't know, first inversion. So I have to think to myself, what is a B flat diminished in first inversion? The answer would be here, but I have to think, okay, what's a first inversion major for B flat? first inversion minor for B flat is a first inversion diminished for B flat, or you could learn it, based on the other triads that we've talked about. Okay? And that will be that triad portion, and then of course we're going to do one full key. I might tell you to play C major on strings 1, 2, and 3, and you have to be able to do that in, second inversion. If you have any questions about this lesson, go ahead and put them in the comments below. All of the stuff, like I said, is over on Patreon, and you can reach out to me over there. I still have a few open lesson slots if you're interested in private lessons with me. I hope you guys have a great week of practicing, and I will see you next week. Peace.